It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life. From the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators. The famous and not so famous. The controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here is Douglas Coleman.
Howdy-o, hey, welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show. It's me, Douglas Coleman. How are ya? Jennifer Erwitt is here today. Jennifer is an author, originally from New York City, now lives in Los Angeles. She wrote a book called Address the Color of the Sky, and it's her first novel, and I gotta say it's doing quite well. She'll tell us all about it in the interview. But one thing I found interesting was that the book doesn't actually launch until this week, and she's already sold the film rights. So I'm looking forward to reading the book as well as seeing the movie when it comes out. Probably going to be a year or so before the movie comes out, but anxious to see it when it does. She will be up in the second half of the show. Before we get to Jennifer, we've got music to play. We've got some music from musicxray.com submissions. Thank you to everybody who's been submitting on Music X-Ray. We really appreciate it. We're getting lots and lots of them. And a number of them we have played on the show already. Please check out our submission page at musicxray.com and look under Douglas Coleman Show. I'd just like to mention that we have a Patreon page. We're trying to take the show to a 2-show-per-week format. We need your help to do it. Check out our page at patreon.com/Douglas Coleman Show. For as little as $1 a month, you can help us out. If you'd like to pay more than that, there are different plans, including plans that offer advertising on the show. We will run your pre-recorded ad, or we will make one for you and run it as long as your subscription is current. So it's a good deal. Please check it out. Patreon.com/Douglas Coleman Show. All right. I said we were going to have some music. We've got 4 tracks to play today, all from Music X-Ray submissions. The first one up is Road to Nowhere by Chris Cox, followed by Someday by Emma Kern, and then Even If It Hurts by Gladys 911. And finally, If I Wait by Sara P. So, music first, and then the interview with author Jennifer Erwitt.
Shadow, but you, baby, were much too shallow. You said it would last forever, but you, baby, would have me never, never. This world's not an easy place to live in, and the madness seems to have no ending. But if you waiting on me to give in, that's the road, baby, just keep on tripping on down to never. were my one and only. Now the road, it goes a little farther every day. Doesn't matter, it only skips us anyway. Heading on down to never, never. I wanted you to know just how far I would go. I'm driving for the end of the road right now, just heading for the light of day. Going somewhere but here to stay. What price would you have me pay right now? Meet me on the road to never, never,
I see you staring at me, thinking I can't make my mark in history. But darling, you just wait and see. 'Cause one day I'll be exactly where I wanna be. Someday I'll be wishing that you stayed and believed in me. Someday I hope you'll get to see the best of me, the best of me. La da la da 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 la da la da 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 la da da. La da la da 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 la da la da 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 la da da. Look up and see my dreams, naming lights and everything. You watching me on the big screen, wishing you would have put your trust in me. 'Cause someday I'll be wishing that you stayed and believed in me. Someday I hope you'll get to see the best of me, the best of me. Someday you'll be wishing that you stayed and believed in me. be strong now. Need to remind myself I need to let go. Somehow everything seems far, far from reach. So many dreams that I wanted to keep, but your silence never felt so deep. I feel I'm drowning in my sleep. Even if it hurts, I can't wonder why. Even if it hurts, I hold the tears inside. I have to be strong now. Need to remind myself I need to let go. Somehow there's no point in placing the blame, but nothing feels the same. Now there's little to expect, and time for me to reflect. If making you happy means walking away, I need to convince myself I just can't stay. Even if it hurts, I can't wonder why. Even if it hurts, I hold the tears inside. I have to be strong now. Need to remind myself I need to let go. I need to let go. I need to let go somehow. And if I wait for you to say this is what you want, baby, I'd be waiting on forever, but I don't have the time. Spent it all on you, and what you still can't say. And if I wait, the weather's getting cold, and this ain't what I want. But lately I've been feeling warmer here when I'm alone, 'cause I ain't got the time. Spent it all on you, and what you still can't say. Each night I'ma sleep a little better, and each day I'll be a little more together. And you and your ego will be alright. It won't keep you awake. I won't be lonely, 'cause I'm keeping all the loving that I gave. I'm giving it back to me, 'cause I need it more. And I'm sending all of your well wishes out the door. You've done me in this time, and I just can't wait. No, I just can't wait. Yeah, I know I'll be waiting on what ain't gonna come, 'cause it's impossible to give you everything that you want. Yeah, I know it's not the first time that I said I was done, but it's the first time that I'm taking back the loving that I gave. And if I wait for you to say this is what you want, baby, I'd be waiting on forever, and I don't have the time. Spent it all on you, and what you still can't say. Each night I'ma sleep a little better, and each day I'll be a little more together. And you and your ego will be alright. It won't keep you awake. I won't be lonely, 'cause I'm keeping all the loving that I gave. And if I wait, and if I wait, and if I wait, I won't be lonely, 'cause I'm keeping all the loving that I.
You're listening to Mr. Smooth and Savvy right here on The Douglas Coleman Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
DJC Music and DJC Productions are pleased to announce a brand new website. We have started a listing website for radio show hosts as well as potential show guests. This is a meeting site where hosts and guests can come together. Show hosts can list their show and types of guests they're interested in booking. Potential guests can list their talents, bio, accomplishments, or anything they feel makes them an interesting radio show guest. There are no recurrent payments, only a one-time $5 listing fee. Your listing will stay up until you decide to cancel. Previous guests of The Douglas Coleman Show are welcome to submit their guest listing free of charge. Go to radiohostsandguests.com. That's radiohostsandguests.com.
Acclaimed author of Garden, Jane Yates brings you the first book in a new trilogy, Octopus Pirate, a story of a foundling who has unusual talents, such as the ability to communicate with octopuses. As a baby, he was washed up on an island off the Scottish mainland. An eccentric former nun who lives alone with cats brings him up. He joins a circus and narrowly escapes plots against him, flees to Cornwall, builds a replica pirate ship that's also an airship to travel back in time to fight real pirates. Get your copy today from Amazon, only 99 cents.
Hi there, this is Stuart Epps from the UK, record producer, engineer. You might have heard of me. I've worked with artists from Elton John to Led Zeppelin to Bad Company, Twisted Sister, Robbie Williams, Oasis, many great bands and artists in the past and the present and hopefully in the future. But you can work with me as well. You know, all you got to do is get in touch with me on eppsmusicproductions.com. That's eppsproductionsmusic.com. And I can help you with your productions and with your recordings. A lot of people do home recordings now, which you can only take so far. Maybe they need a bit of professional help. So get in touch with me and we can sort it out. And thanks for Douglas Coleman for giving me this spot. Thanks a lot. Cheers, bye.
Go listen, download, and subscribe to The Douglas Coleman Show. It's available at the website douglascolemanmusic.com/DCS. Also on iTunes, Spreaker, and YouTube. The Douglas Coleman Show is an internationally syndicated talk and music show that features fascinating and sometimes famous guests from all aspects of the entertainment industry. The topics can range from light and fluffy to sober and serious. Our focus is on music artists, but we also feature producers, authors, directors, and even promoters. The Douglas Coleman Show. Sometimes chat, sometimes music, always entertaining. Again, it's available today at the website douglascolemanmusic.com/DCS. You can also connect with them on Facebook at Douglas Coleman Show 1, follow on Twitter at Douglas Coleman 3, and you can even find them on TuneIn Radio. Again, that's the Douglas Coleman Show at the website douglascolemanmusic.com/DCS, iTunes, Spreaker, YouTube, and more. Go listen, download, subscribe, and share with your social networks today.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. See? Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! Wrong hat.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Okay, please welcome my guest, Jennifer Erwitt. Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
Hi, I'm great, and thank you for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. I read through your bio. Your bio seemed really interesting. I got a kick out of the part about you live in Los Angeles with 2 cats, a dog, and your boyfriend. And I'm glad that you put your priorities straight. The cats first, then the dog, then the boyfriend.
Yeah. That was one night my boyfriend actually was working on my bio, and he wrote that, and which I thought was really funny. So we were like, yeah, let's just leave it, because the animals are pretty important to me. So he is too, but it's a toss-up. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I like it though.
I'm definitely an animal lover. I've got 2 dogs, and in fact, they're right here in the studio with me. Hopefully they will stay quiet through the interview. You are also, or I guess you said you were a retired Pilates instructor. Can you tell people exactly what Pilates is? Because is it like yoga? I mean, I think people get confused with what exactly it is.
Well, yeah, to answer your question, I am a retired Pilates instructor, and I taught while I was raising my boys. And I only taught private, so it was a very kind of an intimate situation between you and your client, where you spend an hour a couple of days a week together, and there's it really strengthens your core. You do a lot of stretching. It tones and elongates your muscles. It's not like yoga, because yoga is a little less structured and more free flowing, and this is more structured, and you use various equipment and machines with springs that help you tone your body. And it feels really good. It's a great workout, and it creates a lean muscle, which a lot of women love. So, and teaching Pilates and working with women really helped me learn about women, and as a result, develop more realistic characters for my book, because I really got to know women. It was great, and I loved it.
Okay, but you're not doing that anymore, right?
No, I'm writing full time now. And just the book right now is about to release, so it's pretty crazy, exciting time for me right now.
This is your first novel, according to your bio.
Yes, it is.
What were you writing before this?
Well, I wrote a screenplay in college a long time ago. And after that, I worked in advertising, producing television commercials at ad agencies, and then producing industrial theater. And I've dabbled in modeling throughout my life, and just a variety of different things. But as far as just solid writing, I have not done writing. And this is my first book. This is my first stab at pretty much really writing anything other than short stories and screenplays and things like that I just did on my own, but nothing that I published.
What made you want to do it?
I was going through a divorce, and after a long marriage, and was really in a sort of a difficult time in my life, and I wanted to heal from that, and started writing, and it really helped me a lot. And I've always had this book in my head because of this takeoff on this screenplay that I wrote, and I just kept writing and started giving my manuscript to friends to see what they thought. And I didn't really know that much about what I was doing, so I read a lot of books about writing, and I took some courses online and things like that, and how you get a book published, and it just sort of it's been learning along the way, which is why it took me a really long time to write the book, because I didn't know what I was doing. So I really hope the next book comes a little faster than this one did.
How long did this book take to write?
Yeah. I would say about 4 years.
Oh, all right.
From the last 2 years has been more focused on it. At first, I wasn't sure if I had a book that I could, if it was really going to be a book, but I just kept writing. And then there's been a variety of people that have helped me along the way, and getting critiques was one of the best things that I could do, because it helped me see that I did have something people wanted to read and that was interesting and of interest to people. So
I read a sort of synopsis of the story, and it reminded me of a movie that came out in the 70s, at least the first part of it.
What movie?
The movie is called Looking for Mr. Goodbar.
Mr. Goodbar. I thought that. I was pretty sure you were going to say that. Is it because of the sex addiction? Is that what?
Yeah, I mean, it's
what reminded you of it,
right? Because it's been a lot of years since I've seen that movie, but I just remember that she kept going out and picking up guys at different bars and stuff, and then at the end, she gets the wrong one.
It's filling the black hole of darkness inside someone, and that's basically what looking for Mr. Goodbar. She was going through dark days in her life, and so she was filling the void with men, with random encounters with men. I would say my book has some of that. There's not a lot of sex in my book. There's not gratuitous sex in my book. It's definitely not 50 Shades of Grey at all. It's more about how what happens in your life as a child affects things in your future and your adult life. And I would say my book is more Girl Interrupted meets Orange is the New Black. It's the cast of characters in rehab, and then there's the disease of addiction that it is all around us. And then the journey through healing and redemption, which is basically what Prudence Aldrich goes through in rehab. And I don't know if you know, my book goes back and forth in time. So although the character does bad things, you see what happened, and you care for her and you root for her.
Where did the ideas for the book come from?
I started writing this book, like I said, when I was teaching a lot of Pilates. There was a bunch of things going on in the media with Tiger Woods becoming a sex addict and all these different people coming forward with sex addiction. And they were mostly men. And I started just doing research and trying to understand whether women could have that same addiction. And a lot of people don't even think it's a real addiction. They think it's just like an excuse for being promiscuous. But I started reading a lot of books and like doing research and learning about it and talking to women and teaching Pilates, becoming interested in what drives a woman sexually and versus a man, and how different women and men are, and the stipulation that like men, or the stigma that men are more sexual than women. I just don't think it's true. I just think it's just a different way that a woman gets more interested in sex versus a man. So just all those things just started interesting me because I heard a lot about these things when I was teaching Pilates, and I just came up with it. I don't know. The mind works in weird ways.
Well, one of the things about that I've always found interesting, and this was something that Larry Flint said in an interview, that he said that, men get turned on by watching sex and women get turned on by reading about it. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how true that is.
Yeah.
But
well, I would say there's probably not a lot of women porn addicts as there are men, which is something that came up a lot when I was doing research for the book, seeing a lot of men that have become addicted to porn because it's just so available on the internet. And I think women are more, which is okay, right around the time I was teaching the book, 50 Shades of Grey came out, and I was just blown away by how many women had their marriages and their sex lives fired up by that book. It just kind of blew me away. And it really got people excited and created a real spark in our community, from what I could tell, just from the women and Freddie talking to people. And that was really interesting to me. And, I think Larry Flint was right. Women like to read about it, and rather than watch it. Men are just more visual, I guess, than women.
You brought up something that I wanted to talk a little bit about because it's always been curious to me. You talked about sex addiction, and I guess your character goes through some of that in the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
How do you actually define a sex addiction versus somebody who's single and who just goes out on dates and,
Well, any kind of addiction is defined by a variety of questions in which if it's damaging your life, hurting your career, hurting your relationships, hurting people around you, causing you emotional problems, you're putting yourself at risk. There's just a variety of things that culminate into when it's a problem. It's becoming a problem for you. And I think there's a lot of functioning alcoholics out there. I know a lot of them. My father was an alcoholic. I think that, but they still have jobs. They can still, have lives that are fairly normal. And I think addiction, when it starts creating a problem in your life in more than one way, in more than one area, then it's time to really look at it and get some help. And I just want to lay out that I'm not a therapist. I'm not an expert. And there are a lot of experts in addiction. I'm just a writer who's interested in it. So I just wanted to lay that out.
Well, I'm not a therapist either, but it's just interesting. It's just interesting fodder for conversation because, we know people who we might think have addictions in one thing or another, but they might not think so. And it's always interesting to try to figure out where the line is. Like you said about functioning alcoholics. I mean, I know people that drink every day, but they seem fine. They do what they have to do in life, but, come 5 or 6 o'clock, the bottle's coming out and they never miss.
Right.
So, I don't know. I wouldn't chastise that person saying, well, you're an alcoholic. I wouldn't do that.
And it's not really our position. We can't, one of the things that I've learned throughout this process is you can't tell someone when they need help. They have to decide.
True. Yeah.
They have to, the 12 steps is step 1. You're powerless over your addiction. You have to just believe that. Otherwise you can't heal. You're not going to get better. And it has to be your moment where you hit rock bottom and you say, I can't do this anymore. This is a problem and I want help. And one of my kids went through a recovery program while I was writing this book, which was really poignant for me because I was able to I couldn't eat a meal with my son without someone else in recovery with us, and for a year. And it was a very good experience for me to see the different addictions, to see what triggered their addictions, to see how they're recovering and how the process of each person is different. I'm very proud of my son. I'm really, he's doing great. And he helped me a lot with the language in my book, especially in the final editing stages of really getting the language of how a recovering addict talks.
Can I ask what your son's addiction was?
I will say that the main thing that he had a problem with was marijuana.
Oh, okay.
It was an extreme, extreme use. I'll just put it that way. He was dabbling in other things, but never really hard drugs. But his whole life had sort of crumbled as far as what he functioning as a regular normal person. I guess I don't like the word normal, but his everyday life was not functioning well due to that. And he was dabbing, which is a kind of a form of marijuana that's extremely concentrated. I didn't even know what it was. I had to look it up when I found out about it. It was really, really strong. I mean, weed right now is just a lot stronger than it used to be anyway, so it's not like the way it was in the 80s.
Oh, believe me.
Like ragweed, dirtweed, or whatever.
I have a good friend of mine who is a kidney dialysis patient, and he gets the medical marijuana to help him with the nausea after his dialysis. Like you were talking about how much stronger. I mean, I smoked it back in the 70s when I was in high school. And just for kicks, I just tried one puff of the stuff that he got, the medical stuff. And I literally was knocked on the couch and couldn't move for about 3 hours.
Yeah.
I just could not move.
Yeah, it's a lot
paralyzed.
stronger than it was. Yeah. And the whole thing with dabbing is that, I mean, they call it wax or a variety of other things, but it's like weed on steroids times 100. It's super strong. Yeah. So, he was drinking and was dabbling in pills and stuff like that. But for the most part, that was really causing him problems. But he was in college, and luckily he's doing incredibly well. He's very much of a role model to people. Because he's been sober almost 2 years now. So, he's doing great, thankfully. I'm like I said, I'm very proud of him.
That's good. It takes a lot more courage and strength to come out of it than it does to start, than to take it in the first place. Well, good for him. Okay, your book is called A Dress the Color of the Sky. Do you see this becoming a movie?
Yeah, I mean, I sold the film rights to it.
Oh, you did?
So,
okay. Great.
Yeah, it's going to be a movie. And one of the things, I mean, I'm incredibly grateful to the producer because she read an early version of the manuscript. And she's really one of the people that springboarded me to stay on it and to really fight for the book and to keep working on the book until I got it right, because the story really spoke to her. And I've basically been riding a wave of flawed female characters, whether likable or unlikable. They're just extremely hot in the literary world right now. They're extremely hot in Hollywood. And very early on, when I got on Instagram, Reese Witherspoon's book club started following me on Instagram. And she is a huge reader and has a very big book club, very powerful book club. And so she started snatching up film rights to books. So that kind of pushed a lot of producers to begin buying film rights to books. Because back in the day, it was just option, shelf the idea, I'll give you a couple grand, whatever. And the producer who bought the film rights to my book has just been so rock solid, believing in the story of Prudence Aldrich and the way the book unfolds and how it works and how poignant and beautiful it will be on film. And I just have no doubt they're going to do an amazing job with the film. And I'm really excited about it.
Is this going to be a full-blown Hollywood production, or is it going to be an indie or something in between?
I would say something in between. It's they're going to have a lot of talent working on it, but they're going to launch it at Sundance, so they want to kind of have it be more artsy. I know the director of photography, the person filming it, the aesthetic of the way the film looks is extremely important to the producer. So it's going to be a visually beautiful film, I have no doubt. And it is a really poignant story. And at this point right now, I've sent out advance review copies to book bloggers who are very powerful, influential people in the reading world. And I'm just beyond ecstatic over the comments and reviews. I mean, everyone's giving me 5 stars. They're telling me they've read it. They read it in 48 hours, that they are obsessed with the book. And these reviewers are holding back on writing full reviews until the book releases because they influence sales so much. And they are like, we want to help you sell books.
Great.
It's that good. It's beyond my wildest dreams to have these comments and positive. I mean, one girl was like, I gave it to my mom and she can't put it down, and now we're nonstop talking about it. So it's been, that for me has just been so amazingly exciting to get those first reviews from complete strangers who are avid readers, who are critique books for, day in and day out all the time. And they're loving my book. So that's just, for me, great news.
Has the movie been cast yet?
No, they have people right now they're talking to, and I'm not supposed to say right now what they're going with. A couple of big stars in the lead roles. They're I believe looking at 3 major stars for the lead roles, and then I know the producer's interested in finding new talent as well and unearthing some new great star. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I really am. And I can't picture who should play Prudence Aldrich. And I guess because I'm so close to the character, like I created the character, it's just really hard for me to picture. I have ideas, but I don't really have a say in it. I'm going to be a consultant on the film.
Well, how old is Prudence?
Well, it starts, like I said, it goes back and forth in time. So there's going to have to be 2 Prudences.
Oh, I see.
There'll be a young Prudence and then And that's what's so poignant about the story, is that when you read what happens to her, you just go, oh, like your heart just sinks. It just aches, because it makes sense that she turned out the way she did, that she chose bad guys, that she couldn't find love in herself. She couldn't find love in other people. And I find a lot of this is relatable to women, because women tend to go for the bad guy, or to go for the guy that doesn't treat them right, or the asshole, or whatever. And then there's the girls who somehow figure it out really young and just always go for the right man and the good guy. And I was always wondering, like, why? I mean, my mom, her man picker was completely broken. Like, she had the worst taste in men. And my mom had a bad father figure. He was not a good father figure. She ended up being raised by her grandfather. So I don't know if that was why her man picker was broken, because my mom was an incredible career woman. Her life was really very successful, but she just didn't know how to pick a good guy. And that, I wonder why one woman has that, one woman doesn't. And I believe a lot of it goes back to childhood.
It's an interesting topic of conversation, because I've seen that with successful women. Not to say that all successful women have a broken man picker, but it tends to be, where they're, like you said, she was very successful in her career, but when it came to her personal life,
very successful.
It was a mess. And I don't know why that is. I really, like you said, it could be childhood.
And I don't have the answers to that. The way that, Prudence Aldrich, and obviously I married the wrong man, and I stayed married for a long time in a marriage that wasn't healthy or happy, to the point where my kids were like, Mom, you got to move on. And it just, why did I stay so long? Why didn't I think that, and there's fear drives a lot of it, fear or belief that you can fix it, belief you can change the person, or you're going to make them love you, you're going to make things better. And sometimes you just need to figure out when to fold the deck and say, like, this isn't working. And a lot of women can do that easily, and a lot of women can't. That's another phenomenon of interest to me. Why can some women just like walk away and not look back, and other women are just like, they'll try and stay in a relationship forever just to try and make it work, So look, like I said, I'm not a therapist, but I just am interested in all of this, and and there's things that create that interest, help me write and help me kind of put the story together, and one that could be more relatable to women, because I see what the issues are. And honestly, while I was writing this book, Kelly Oxford tweeted about her sexual assault story, and it was the timing of that. And to see all the women who tweeted, one every second, it was ridiculous. And it made me realize so many women have endured some type of trauma. And how does that affect your life? That's the question. So with Prudence Aldrich, it affected her in a way that she became a sex addict. What happened in her childhood?
I was just going to say, the one kind of person that I've always found interesting with regards to relationships is the woman who stays with the husband who beats her. And when they asked her, why did you stay with this guy? She said she was more afraid of being alone than being hit.
Yeah.
Now, I couldn't ever get my head around that concept.
I believe a lot of it has to do with some brainwashing that goes on in convincing the person that they can't do any better. This is all they've got. This person is their whole world. And that brainwashing goes on over a long period of time, and it just sinks in. And a person becomes broken. And when you're broken, you see yourself as a victim. And when you see yourself as a victim, you can't have a healthy relationship. And that's something that I really drive home in my book, because Prudence is raped. And through what I learned through my researching for my book is that once a woman's been date raped, they see themselves as a victim. And then it happens again and again. And until you can not see yourself as a victim, you're vulnerable to that. So that's why getting help and healing from a lot of these things is so important, so that you can have a healthy relationship and you can move forward and find self-love and therefore a healthy relationship with someone else. It's sad to think that people can be so, dependent on someone that's so abusive, but it's very common. And, as sad as it is, it's very, very common.
People who are dependent on others is good and bad. I mean, we always think of the perfect relationship of, I need my partner.
And that's codependence right there.
Yeah. I mean, there's a line between between a healthy, happy relationship and one who is just absolutely dependent on the other person.
Yeah, I go into that as well in my book. And the codependence of a relationship is toxic when it's too meshed together. You're not an individual anymore. You don't see yourself as an individual. Because the healthiest relationships are the ones that are two circles that slightly overlap.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, it's a good analogy. Two circles that slightly overlap. It was probably more prevalent, well, maybe not, but I'm thinking of my grandparents. And my grandmother never worked. She was stay at home, raised the kids, what they called a housewife back in those days. And I would have to say she was completely dependent on my grandfather because he made all the money. She had no credit report. She didn't even get a driver's license.
And she raised the kids. Oh, really? Yeah. I've actually heard of that. She raised the children, which I think is a really important job, and one that is very, very difficult and not as, I think, respected as it should be, because being a stay-at-home mom is not easy. And raising a good adult, a well-rounded, healthy adult, takes a lot of work. And so your grandmother chose that, and as long as your grandfather didn't use it against her and hold that over her head, and they looked at each other as a partnership, whereas you're in the house and did this, and this, and he did this, and this, and they were a team, then it's probably healthy. But from an outside standpoint, the way you looked at it, oh, she's completely dependent on him. But he was probably dependent on her too, to run the household, to make the food. I mean, I don't know. I'm just guessing.
No, I think you're right. I think that they did look at it like that. Because back in those days, I mean, I'm going back to the 1920s, it was very sort of black and white. The man did this, the woman did that. And I think that that's just how it was. This was her job, was to run the house and take care of the kids, and his job was to go out and earn the money. So I don't think that was
that can work, and people still do it today, and it can work. I mean, my brother stays at home, and his wife has a big career, and it really works well for them. And my brother's his master's, he's had a career, he's extremely bright, but he loves it. He manages their money, he runs the house, and he loves it. And they have a great marriage, and it works for them. So whatever works for you, as long as it's not hurting anyone, it's healthy, and it's like a good situation, there is no normal, really. And I think that you have to just kind of look at the relationship and as long as both parties feel happy and fulfilled, then it's working out. But I dabbled on codependence in the book, and how codependence it's a lot more serious than people think. When you are so dependent on someone that you feel like you can't live without them, that's not healthy.
You hear that line all the time in pop songs. I can't live without you. I mean, it's almost cliche now,
Yeah. I never want to feel like that.
And it's supposed to be romantic. But
I don't like that. I don't want to ever feel that way. I think it's better to just kind of have a good relationship with someone, and be happy with they have their career, you have whatever you're doing, and it's a good, healthy relationship, but you also have a life outside of, you have friends, you have interests, things like that, because it creates a healthier balance. It's like nothing, too much of anything is not a good thing.
Oh, I agree with you there. I mean, no matter how much you love the other person, you can't be in their face 24/7. It just doesn't work. And I never understood.
After a while, you're just like, don't you have somewhere to go?
Right.
Do you have any friends?
Just leave me alone. And it's funny, like these people who work together and live together, and you know what I mean? Like they might run a business. Yeah. And
I know a couple that does that, and they do great. It works great for them.
Huh?
I think it takes a certain type of couple to be able to do that.
Yeah, I don't think I could do it.
I admire it. I couldn't do it, but I admire it. I do.
I like the slightly overlapping circles. That's about it. That's for me. that works. Because
I mean, I guess I kind of work with my boyfriend because he's been my attorney through all this and helped me out with everything. So he said I'm his toughest client. I'm his most demanding client, and the one that listens the least. I don't follow orders that well.
Well, that could be good, I suppose. Jennifer, we got to wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I just want to mention that your book tour launches October 17th in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And includes chain and independent bookstores. You're going to be doing book signings, yeah?
Yep, I'm going to be doing book signings all over the U.S. We'll be posting it on my website and publishers, and it'll be on Goodreads, calendar, and of events. So you'll see it everywhere. I'm just going to be hitting as many cities as I can. I'm really excited to share this book with everyone, and I'm and the movie is also very exciting. And thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. It was my pleasure. Nice talking to you. I think this was a good conversation.
Yeah, it was great talking to you too. And I'll have to send you a book.
Oh,
I'll sign one for you.
Please do. That would be wonderful. Before we say goodbye, I just wanted to ask one question about. It says book festivals. You're going to be at book festivals, book clubs, and a few unconventional locations. What are the unconventional locations?
My publicist is a real out-of-the-box thinker, and she works with a lot of musicians. So, who knows? I told her, I said, look, I am open to it at wherever you send me. And if people are there and they're interested in the book, I will sign books for them. So hopefully it'll be some really like fabulous nightclub where there's like a great band playing, and I'll be like the author at the very end somewhere signing books. Who knows? I love how my publicist thinks out of the box like that. She's pretty cool like that. So
I don't know. I just had this picture of you at a McDonald's or something signing books.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm open to it. Have me come sign books. I'll do it. Encourage people to read, and it's exciting. I'm excited about the book right now, and I'm so grateful to be on the show. And thank you so much for having me and letting me talk about my favorite subject, Address the Color of the Sky.
My pleasure. Thank you again, Jennifer.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Well, that's about all the time we've got for the show today. I want to thank my very special guest, Jennifer Erwitt. Best of luck with the book and the film. And thank you to the Music X-Ray submissions, Chris Cox, Emma Kern, Gladys 911, and Sara P. for their wonderful music. This is Douglas Coleman saying goodbye.
it real. Learn to make